So, again, very good afternoon, everyone. And today we are going to speak on a term which I think is widely popular these days, customer centricity and customer experience. So, what is it exactly? I mean, what do we understand when we talk about customer centricity? What happens over there? There's a wonderful saying by Bill Gates that your most unhappy customers are the greatest source of learning. And why is that? Why do we say that? Because, a lot of us, mostly the working professionals, would agree that feedback is something which is very, very, something which we are afraid of probably because once a complaint comes in, it's something which would create a kind of a ruckus, might have an escalations as well. So why is that we say here that the unhappiest customers are the greatest source of learning? Because these are the people who are going to give us wonderful insights. Where are we going wrong? What did we do wrong? And what were the major pain points in their entire customer journey? And that is, and these people, I believe me, these are the people from whom we are going to learn exactly where are we going to work out processes and systems which are going to streamline their customer journey. And what happens when one single person is satisfied, one single complaint is resolved, or one single feedback is taken up and actually acted very seriously upon, a strategic action is being taken upon one single feedback, what happens then? You get one happy customer. And the power of that one happy customer, especially in today's world where there's a lot of social media traction happening, where there's a lot of communication happening among people. In this scenario, particularly, one particularly happy person is going to raise his or her voice across. And that is where we are going to get more and more people being associated with us, with our brand, with our company. And that is what we want. That is actually the core of customer centricity. And, technically speaking, or if I have to speak exactly what Google says or what any textbook would say, so customer centricity means how people perceive you. And as in how my customers perceive my product, my brand, my organization. So what comes into my mind, for example, let's talk about IKEA. If I talk about maybe Uber, which we are going to talk about in next slides, what comes to your mind, to my mind as a consumer? Exceptional service, a very different kind of service, a very, very significant gap between what I have seen in Indian markets, for the example of IKEA, what I have seen in Indian markets, what kind of furniture shopping I used to do, what kind of solution shopping I used to do. So it's a very, very different kind of experience that they have created. And that is what a customer-centric organization would do. Building experience. So you are selling the product or you are selling the service. But what about the 360-degree view when you look from the eyes of the customer? The customer is going to look at almost everything, the five senses. If you could recall in marketing, there's something that we learn about: engage all the senses. When you are marketing something, when you are selling something, engage all the senses. Customer centricity starts from them. Engage all the senses, plus where are the pain points? Let's work on those pain points. So that's what customer centricity is. And once again, I'll reiterate, once one particular customer is satisfied, is happy, they are going to bring in multiple other customers. And that is the power of word of mouth. That is the power of having a great customer experience. And that is we'll talk about, and I want to share few examples of, some of the best practices and some of the organizations and brands that we have come across over these years. So B2C example, maybe Uber. And Uber, I'm talking about from the time of its inception till now. So currently, because the kind of services, the kind of product, the kind of services that we see from Uber is something that we have gotten used to it. When we look at the journey what Uber has followed through its inception, since its inception, uh, right from the point where the pain of the customer was to know where my ride is. Earlier, that kind of visibility, the map that we see these days, that was not available. That was long back. That got built into the app. The ratings, both from the customers as well as the side of the drivers, that got built in. Why? Because not just for the consumers who want to know how well rated my driver is, even for the driver, it is equally important to know who you are, at least have some idea that what kind of passenger, what kind of a person he or she is going to travel with. So that is how they started building small little functionalities into their online experience to make it much more smoother, much more streamlined, right? Another example, this is much more tangible example, is the Ritz-Carlton. And a lot of us would be aware that it's one of the premium hotel chains across the world. And the reason why it's different and the reason why I want to talk about them here today is because they have a very nice motto, very beautifully said. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, servicing ladies and gentlemen. So they very well know who are the customers they are going to service, who are the customers they are providing their services for. And there was a wonderful story that I want to share here about Ritz-Carlton, and it happened when a couple landed in the Bali Ritz-Carlton. And there they had some specific food allergies, some particular requirement about their child. So they had gotten their milk and eggs from their country. And after landing, after reaching the hotel, they realized that it has all gone bad and they could not find it there anywhere near. They asked the manager, they actually went ahead, they looked at the entire place, entire town, but they couldn't find anything over there. So finally, what the head chef did, he called up his grandmother in Singapore and he asked her to buy those special milk and eggs and then send it across through the next plane. And that particular customer is actually the flag bearer of the Ritz-Carlton and how beautifully they have serviced them. So this is the kind of, the lengths an organization, a brand is expected to go. And maybe not expected, because in this case, it wasn't really expected of them, but they went a step ahead. And that is what brings customer delight. Just delighting the customer, giving them much more that than they couldn't even imagine that, okay, is this even possible? And in this case, that's exactly why, the people pay the premium that they pay for Ritz-Carlton. So one very, very wonderful example. Another example, two examples from B2B industry, basically IBM. IBM is here because, starting from their very hardware centric organization, now they have moved to a lot of different diversified into services as well. So what happens when a diversified organization which was focused on products moves to services? They don't really need to focus on, educating their customers online in a very open platform. Do they really need to? Because they would have a client base, they would have people, they would be interacting very well. But their online presence, the kind of data, not exactly data, sorry, the kind of learnings that they share in their online platforms for their customers or the customers who are probably going to come to them, potential customers, is very, very beautiful. And it really adds value to all the users of IBM on a day-to-day basis, keep them engaged. The customer experience is also about keeping your customers engaged and keeping your customers educated so that they get that power of knowledge with them. That's very important. When we talk about FedEx, so FedEx is I think everyone would know what FedEx is in US, especially it's a very, very big player. So what actually happened over here, there were a few plugins that they developed which helped the shoppers, especially the stores, the small businesses, which help them streamline their order fulfillment processes. They provided that plugin. They also made a statement which was making 50 lives happier by their 50th anniversary, and they publicized this event over their social media, over other channels as well, right? And one of the big steps that they had taken to improve the customer experience is that earlier they used to have a practice where every department would be sending a different mail to their customer. For example, the department from where the initiation is happening, from where the payment is happening, all these departments would be separately sending out the emails to their customers. After understanding the pain point of the customer, that okay, just bombarding the customer with emails is not a good thing to do, is probably creating a lot of frustration. They streamlined it, just implemented one single email which had the summary of every function within it. So one customer, one email, and that really helped their customer experience. So another great, great example from FedEx. Another two examples, just want to quickly take you through IKEA. We talked about in the starting itself. IKEA, I think if you would have gotten a chance to be in one of the IKEAs that we have in India, it has a wonderful experience built around furniture shopping or interior shopping, basically. So it won't just focus on that, okay, you have to buy a product, you need to do a DIY product. Okay, I'll just showcase these products to you and you buy it. The idea of IKEA is to build an experience. You go there, and their motto, the company itself says that they want to have IKEA as a shopping center for a leisurely afternoon where you go, you enjoy shopping, you see how your rooms could look like, all those demo rooms that they have. You see how your rooms can look like. You play around with things. Then your beautiful leisure afternoon actually culminates into the famous restaurant that IKEA has. So that's their idea, the entire experience, have a leisure afternoon, enjoy shopping, play around with shopping, the huge amount of space that they give. So that is the customer experience. And they also ensure that they provide a seamless omni-channel experience. So I am pretty sure most of us would know that omni-channel is, a very, very important part of business these days, especially retail. So combining offline plus online business together creates a very seamless experience. And it's very important from the customer's point of view, from the customer's angle, to have that kind of seamlessness. Whether they are shopping something online in IKEA, for example, you have seen something particular, but it's not available in that particular inventory. The assistant would directly take you to their system and they would check where it is. They will ensure that you order there and it gets delivered to your home. So that kind of experience is what IKEA has made. And we all know how famous IKEA's customer centricity is. Another one example, and sorry for my pronunciation, it's a French term, bon marché. It's a departmental store. And we, because of the online influence, the online, even we have Big Basket, we have now Blinkit, we have every app almost giving us a good grocery shopping online experience. So they are also being, a brick and mortar departmental store. They were also quite threatened by what are we going to do, because the online grocery shopping, online departmental store shopping replacement is happening quite fast. So what they did, this is back in 2018 and 19, that they started curating experience. They started understanding that the buying experience should not be just about buying experience, just like IKEA. It has to be more than buying. Your customers should visit your store not just because they want to buy something, but because they want to experience something. And they did something which was based on, in Paris, in their Paris store, they did something which curated the great American story. They brought in all the merchandise from there. They curated a particular theme of America and they invited the guests over there. So come here, enjoy the American theme, enjoy the American brands. The same thing they did replicated in the next year as well, which was the Greek theme. They replicated the Greek theme. They brought in T-shirts, they brought in a lot of merchandise, they got in their brands, imported their brands, and curated that kind of experience so that the customers come in not just to buy what they have, but to see what they get. And that's very, very important in customer centricity. Okay. So now we'll move forward as to understand why do we talk about customer centricity. So our organizations could typically focus on a lot of things, and I'm sure a lot of us would have already experienced it. There are certain organizations very, very focused on the product itself, certain around pricing, certain around design, and then there are someone who would be focused on customer experience. So the research that was conducted some time back said that almost let's say about half, 45.9 to be exact, are the organizations which are focusing on customer experience. Because the point being, a happy customer, like we said, one happy customer brings in a lot of happy customers. And that's the power of customer experience. That's the power of a positive customer experience that any organization can face. So in fact, 86% of buyers are willing to pay more just for a great customer experience, which is a huge, huge number. And this comes with the additional benefit that the price premium paid by your better customers, the best customers, the happy customers, is about 13%. And that is for a normal shopping. The ones who are into luxury shopping, for them it's up to as 18 to 20%. So that is the premium a customer is going to pay just for the customer experience. So it's like your shop looks good, your shop is wonderful. My shop attendants are very polite, and my brand is probably my product is exactly similar to the one who's selling just next to me. And the customer is going to come to me because of those just two differentiating factors, the entire customer experience. So this is how the outlook looks currently. And then I want to show why businesses are investing in customer experience. Uh, I want to highlight a fact that here that because of the nature of the organization, it depends. It actually depends on the kind of organization, the kind of brand that we are talking about. A lot of brands are focused on a push sale. So because of the nature of the product that they might be selling. So for them, the customer centricity is relatively a smaller part because, uh, sorry, it was a pull sale because the demand for the brand is so high. For them, investing in customer experience doesn't really make much sense, right? So depending on the kind of industry, depending on the kind of organization that you are into, it could change the percentage of investment the organization does on customer experience. But then why do people invest? So the first is to increase cross-selling and upselling. And believe me, this is the most important part of customer experience because even the organizations which are built on a very, very particular focused product, they would be diversified. Even though maybe not today, no, not tomorrow, but yes, maybe 5 years down the line, they would be diversifying. And this is where customer experience would help them to cross-sell and upsell. So another major factor is to improve customer retention. And that's a very obvious factor why we speak about customer experiences so that our customers keep on coming to us. And another big reason is to improve customer satisfaction. So those who are with us, they need to continue being with us, and that is one of the reasons why people invest in customer experience. Now, looking at the omni-channel experience as to why, how organizations and brands have moved across the years from 2010 to 2020 and moving forward, what we see is there's a huge inclination towards omni-channel experience. And the reason being, for the customer, especially after the pandemic phase, where everyone was heavily dependent on digital modes of purchase, digital stores, they have gotten used to the experience that the ease that an online purchase can give to them. Even though the reasons why someone visits a brick and mortar store is a completely different one. It's the experience there. It's a customer experience, engaging the entire senses, all the senses is what is the reason why people would go to a brick and mortar store. But combining these two gives the best benefit for the organization. So it's about 10% growth that omni-channel focused organizations have seen over the organizations which do not have an omni-channel experience, right? And this is one of the very, very interesting, but one of the most difficult things, especially in a retail environment, because for them, the customer complaint channels are completely different, online versus offline. For them, the inventories are completely different, online versus offline. So the integration between the two becomes very, very difficult. But this is one factor which gives in really good ROI. And that's why when earlier around in 2010, it was only about 40% of businesses engaging in omni-channel. Now it's more than 80% who are engaging in omni-channel. One of the other factors of customer experience when we understand a business is to understand their mobile and online journey. So 59% of all the internet traffic worldwide would now come from mobile. So it's very, very important. I think most of us would have experienced this in our personal life as well when we are buying something somewhere. That online journey, the mobile app journey or the mobile browser journey, even the desktop journey is something which will be crucial for us to decide whether we are going to purchase this particular brand, and it will also be crucial for us to actually go and purchase that particular brand. So for example, let's say we know a wonderful brand, a legacy brand, but if we go and just find out in their website that they are not really good they do not really have a good online presence, would we actually go and buy that product, or would we probably consider some other brand having a good online presence as well as a good offline presence? So as you can see, 66% of the customers, a frustrating experience in a website actually hurts the opinion of the overall brand. Just the online experience. It has nothing to do with offline, just the online experience, right? And similarly, about 50-55% of the people having a bad mobile journey would be actually thinking the same to drop the brand. So very, very crucial to maintain our online presence, both from website, desktop, or mobile phones. Then there are certain reasons iterated here as to what are the major causes of concern. As most of us would be aware, actually, it's about the navigation, it's about the search results. There could be a lot of issues within the mobile app or within the website that has to be designed in a particular way, which reduces the pain points in the customer journey. And last, what do customers value? So when we just talk about, how are the metrics looking like when we talk about customer experiences. So these are the ones that we have seen. And the last two, which I want us to focus on, is to understand what is the customer behavior when they are interacting with a customer, a CRM platform, or they're registering a complaint, basically registering a complaint or giving us a feedback. So the statistic says that 1 in 26 customers would complain. So that means your 25 customers would not even register a complaint or give us a feedback. And those are the silent customers. And those are the customers whose voices we will never get to hear. And never, because today they are not giving me the feedback and I will be never hearing from them. And so, and this problem is there even in every kind of reach out. Even if we do a survey, even if we do a calling, even if we do an online survey, offline survey, the response rates are tremendously low. It would be around 20%. The maximum, the best response rates would be around 30%. And that's a cause of concern. It creates the customer frustration. They are so much frustrated that they are not even going to talk to you. And that's important. Okay, the next thing that we see over here is what customers want the most, value the most, is the fast response times. And fast response is something which we experience in our day-to-day life as well. For example, if we log a complaint at Zomato or Swiggy, and they generally come back to us within 1 minute, not even a minute. The chatbot would generally reply within just a second, just after we type the reply. And only if there is something which is out of what their text can read, what a chatbot can understand, only then a human person would actually come and help us solve our problem. So it's a speed of response which helps us. Just imagine that you got a food, it's actually gone bad, and you are trying to complain, and the person is not even replying. The amount of frustration would actually make you know, I'm never going to buy Zomato again, buy from Zomato again. The second one, which is very, very important, is consistency across channels. So in an organization, there would be multiple channels. Actually, there would be someone who is just looking at complaints. There would be someone who's looking at a survey, a blind survey, maybe someone who would be looking at just NPS, maybe promoter surveys. It's important to keep all of these in sync with each other so that there's consistency across channel. So, and especially when we are speaking to the customer, there has to be consistency, there has to be transparency in what is being spoken to the customer. Another most important factor is knowledgeable staff. Now, the first time, this one is important because your fast response times actually needs you to actually utilize the manpower that you have. Without a cultural shift, without the cultural shift of your organization from, let's say, a product-centric to a customer-centric one, it is very difficult to work on response times because it requires a particular mindset that customer is the boss. It requires that kind of mindset being developed across the organization, which helps your organization to take your, let's say, NPS score from maybe 0 to 100. And that's what matters. So I hope for everyone these examples and these metrics made some sense, because now I would like to talk a little bit more on what the CX framework would look like, what it generally looks like across the organizations. And when we are at a a position where we need to design something for the organization or redesign something for your organization, for your brand. So how do you go about it? How do you make that framework? How do you start from the need analysis to implementation to pilot to implementation? How do you do that? So there are three phases of customer experience journey. Not exactly customer experience journey, basically developing the platform for customer experience for your organization. So there are three phases that the customer goes through. The first phase is discovery, second is engagement, and third is delivering. Discovering is when your customer is looking around for other brands, for the various options that your customer has. Now, here, understand the customer. Depending on the product that you are selling or the service that you're selling, your customer could be looking online, or your customer could be going to the stores, or your customer could just be relying on their friends, family, or colleague, or your customers would be, if you're a B2B customer, they would be actually just relying on word of mouth or your client relations with other clients. So this is the discovery phase. So look at the entire journey of the discovery phase, how your customers choose, which channels do they use, who are the influencers in this journey, who are the gatekeepers in this journey, who is the final decision maker. Ensure you know all of this. Ensure you know the journey of each one of these individuals so that you are able to map them out and you are able to pinpoint the problem areas that could be hampering their journey. Okay, the second point that we are going to talk about is engage. Once your customer has chosen you, now it's on you to engage them. How do you engage them? Educate them, communicate with them, be transparent, give fast response. All of the basics of selling a product, and not just selling a product, but creating that experience. Again and again, we talk about experience because experience is not just about selling the product. It's not just about that one time where the product is built. It's about pre as well as post purchase. It's also about engaging the senses. It's also about making the customer related to you, making the customer feel that they are someone very important to you. So that's where engage comes in. Deliver is where you sell the product or where you give the product, where you are actually the customer is using the product. So this is where delivering part comes into play. How do you improve the customer experience here? Product. The first thing is product. The second thing is service. Third thing is any kind of customer complaints, any kind of feedback that you're receiving. All of these, the purchase and post-purchase part comes into delivery. Okay. So this is the broad customer flow into which you have to focus yourself to design a good customer experience journey. And once this is understood, you understood your customers, you understood where they engage from, you move to the second part, which is basically the principles on which your CX framework would work. So the first thing that you would be doing is listening. And listening is important because, in every customer-centric organization, in every customer-centric approach or project that you might be doing, you have to first listen what your customers are saying. If you do whether you do a survey, whether you engage with them socially, online, or whether you engage with them in person, the first thing you do is just listen to them. Okay? It could be through calls, it could be through Facebook, Twitter, X, it could be through any other medium. Open your channels to receive customer complaints, to receive feedback. The second thing that you do is understand. Understanding is essentially you listen. If it's a case-to-case basis, you understand the reason for the customer complaint. If a particular customer is complaining about a particular product, you have to understand what was the cause of this product, right? Cause of this failure. This is what you understand. Second part which comes under understanding is understanding the analytics. Once you have a lot of data with you from listening part, you have to understand what your customers are saying. When I bring this up, when I bring the entire analytics up to a certain level, then I'm going to understand that, let's say, 80% of my customers speak about this, 50% of my customers are delighted because of this, whereas maybe around 100% of my customers feel a pain point is this. So that is the kind of analytics that you have to engage in once you are done with the listening part. The third part, which is acting. Now your act could be a strategic decision, or it could be as simple as actually going back to the customer the very same day and giving them a solution. Okay, but acting is very important. So what happens in a lot of organizations, especially the organizations which do not really have an escalation matrix, which do not really focus on customer centricity. Even if you log in a complaint, you call their toll-free number, you talk to them, you explain everything, you do not really get a response from there, and that creates a lot of frustration. So I have myself spoken to a lot of people. The stories were spread across a lot of brands, mostly B2C brands, that I kept calling them 2, 3 months, no response, 6 months, no response. Finally, they say that you throw the product. And that's not the kind of action that someone would want. Act fast and act good. Act in a way which solves the problem of the customer, right? And the last part that you do is analyze. It comes hand to hand with understanding and analyze. Whereas understanding can also indicate something which is on a day-to-day basis when you are listening to one particular customer and solving their problem. Analysis is something which is done on a large scale basis over the time, over 6 months, 12 months. And this is also where or especially these days, a lot of organizations are engaging with artificial intelligence, where a lot of these sentiments that we listen from customers, a lot of scores that we take from customers, that are being taken and fed into machine learning, and that is being utilized to develop into topic modeling and to understand your customers better. So this is something that is very, very important to help your organization take strategic decisions. Okay. And then there are certain scores, certain ways of basically measuring customer experiences: NPS score, Net Promoter Score, CSAT score, CLV, customer retention rate, journey analytics, and complaint tickets numbers. So few of the scores as well as few of the metrics that actually help organizations to gauge the customer centricity level in the organization. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about how generative AI and how AI in general is helping customer centricity. Because moving forward, like we saw in the last part of the previous slide, analytics. Analytics is going to play a very crucial role in understanding your customers as well as giving a strategic way forward, for helping your leaders to make a strategic way forward for your organization. So generative AI is nothing but, I think a lot of us would already be using ChatGPT and we know what generative AI is. But when it comes to organization, it's also about conversational search. And there are organizations, I think Myntra is one of them, which are using conversational search, where you feel as if there's a person talking to you on the search engine itself. You write, I want a blue blazer for a wedding of my sister. And that's what they are exactly going to give you. Then the next thing that we can look at is agent assistance. Now, what happens? Customer centricity, customer call centers are a huge part of customer centric programs, because the first part that we talked about was listening. Call centers are a good mechanism to listen as well as to record complaints, as well as to ensure the customer keeps coming in, the retention programs. So for the agents, generative AI helps them gives the persona of the customer that they are talking to. What was the last complaint that they gave? What was the resolution that was provided? What this customer generally buys? Is a premium customer or someone who has just visited us once, the loyal customer or not? So a snapshot actually helps the agent to understand the customer well and converse in a way which is beneficial for us. So it also, generative AI also gives them prompts as to what has to be asked next. So instead of following a very, very fixed script, and that was how call centers has worked in the past, instead of following a very strict script, now they have a very dynamic script which changes depending on the person who's talking to and what they are talking to. Right? And definitely generative AI helps marketing in a huge way when they are able to generate images, replicate images, personalize images. So this is something which has been used. I think Castrol was one of the organizations that had used personalization, the same video for all of their customers, greeting them birthday. So a great example of how generative AI is helping across industries, different type of industries, and with a very, very minimal cost. Conversational AI, when I talk a little bit more about what happens in conversational AI, so if it's very important to understand your audience first. So what do they want from a chatbot? Would they want issues to be resolved, or would they want some assistance in their shopping journey? What exactly would they want, and how would they want to engage with it, right? So, for example, if I'm looking for a B2B partner, my engagement with conversational AI would be completely different based on metrics, maybe based on the timeline, maybe. But if I am interacting with a conversational AI, which is for an online shopping site, my interaction would be very different with them. So that's why it's also very important to define the purpose and scope. What is this chatbot going to help me with? Recommendations, issue resolution, or what else would it help me with? Okay. Then the next thing we are going to work on is focus on conversational design. Because the customer, especially in Indian context, we use a lot of phrases. We sometimes move from English to Hindi. We we sometimes move from English to Hindi. We would be using multiple languages. There could be a lot of changes in the phrases across Indian regions that could be a cause of concern. So how do we design this? So machine learning will help us design these phrases over time. And then it's important to use AI NLP machine learning. So NLP is nothing but natural language processing, which could process a lot of information basis the machine learning. And then comes LLM, where the language models are being created to understand the languages, whether be it English, Hindi, or any other language, and convert it into analytics, convert it into data that could be fed into analytics. And then again, being a model, you have to test and refine it. You have to keep testing, you have to keep refining if it still works in your context or not, right? Uh, the benefits of having a conversational AI built into your system is that it's very scalable. So they can actually handle virtually unlimited conversations across the geography. And there is going to be a level of consistency which cannot be met with in-person interactions. There could be personalization, even though personalization is best with in-person, but even in the conversational AI sense, personalization is high because of the data that we feed into them, and definitely the speed. Even if the customer reaches out to us at 1 a.m. in the night, the speed is the best. The speed of interaction is the best even at any odd time that the customer would want us to converse with us. So some of the use cases that they have in conversational AI is in marketing. They can quickly fetch and analyze the data. They can give you recommendations. They can understand your behavior and tell you what should you buy next, what will go with what. Then when it comes to finance, they can help again fetch the data much more faster. They could be much more faster than any human interaction. They can also help you some simpler use cases like help you find the nearest ATM branch, all of that. Then in healthcare, appointment scheduling is one of the best use cases that healthcare has seen. It's something which even we could see in some of the apps in India, that you can just select a slot and get an appointment. You can reschedule it whenever you want. Retail is another big example because again, recommendations, multiple points throughout the customer shopping journey that you have to engage with the customer, and that is where you use a conversational AI with them. It could be in your WhatsApp, it could be in your social accounts. That is where you use it. Then booking transportation, real-time shipping updates. This is for logistics. So logistics, like we saw, FedEx has considerably improved their customer experience. And going forward, there are a lot of organizations which are using real-time shipping updates using generative AI. So just one last thing that I would like to talk about is what does the outlook look like when I talk about CX? So going forward, it is not just going to be customer experience. It is going to be combined with employee experience as well. Because just like how we want to keep our best customers retained, best of our employees are actually helping the best of the customers. So it's something which would start with customer, but would actually end with the employees, right? And the next one is fewer phone calls, more AI. Currently, even across India, a lot of organizations depend on the call centers to improve their customer experience, to understand the pain points, to understand feedback. Going forward, there is going to be a lot of more AI. There are going to be a lot of self-service options. Third thing is social calls. And this has come into consideration because moving forward, millennials, Gen Zs, probably even Gen Alphas would be focusing a lot on social calls. So that is going to improve the customer satisfaction and customer experience. And definitely the last one, fewer chances to get it right. So earlier, the loyal customers would be with us for quite a long time. But now even one mistake can cost us a lot. And that's why our customers also give us very few chances to make it right. Otherwise, they have a lot of options in the market to go ahead with. So that's all from my side. I hope this really helped you.
So with that, we would like to conclude this meeting. Uh, I am personally someone who's very interested in marketing, and honestly, I think this was one of the best sessions I have personally hosted, and otherwise also have been a part of. So thank you so much, Ms. Bhavani, and thank you for shedding light on the critical aspects of customer centricity. And your talk was quite engaging and expanded our knowledge for sure. And it was great to host you over. And I would also like to thank all the participants for taking out the time to join this talk. This talk will be published on the Institute's YouTube channel for a larger audience, given the time constraints that students face to attend it online. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thanks, everyone.